There have been plenty of important figures in the history of rugby, but in terms of making the sport into a global game, there may not be any more famous names than Jonah Lomu. One absolute beast of a man produced moments so iconic, so breathtaking, that millions and millions of people had to watch him play. Let's dive into the life and legacy of rugby's first true superstar, Jonah Lomu. Before we explore his incredible impact on rugby, let's take a look at how Jonah Lomu became a rugby sensation. Born in Auckland to Tongan parents, Lomu had a very difficult childhood, mainly down to the gang violence that surrounded him. He lost multiple family members to that violence, prompting his parents to take action. Sport was the perfect way to keep the youngster out of trouble. It certainly helped that Lomu had some freak genetics that allowed him to excel in pretty much any sport he put his time into. His mother was able to send him to Wesley College in Auckland, where he became an athletics superstar. Wesley College is however best known for producing countless All Blacks like Malachi Fekitoa, Nepo Lualala and Charles Pitot. But at the time it didn't have the same rugby pedigree. This is why it wasn't until slightly later in his school days that Lomu even started to play rugby for the first time. Just as he did with pretty much every other sport, Lomu thrived when he found rugby. He was pushed into a sport where the anger and pain he suffered at home could be used to dominate his opponent, which is exactly what Lomu did. Even before he left school, it was pretty clear that Jonah Lomu was going to be something very scary for international rugby. The course of the history of rugby union could have been very different because Jonah Lomu actually started playing rugby league before he was convinced to play rugby union. He became the captain of the rugby union first 15 for Wesley College in his final year and started to get international attention at a very early age. As you might expect of a rugby player who is 6'5" and almost 19 stone, Lomu started off as a forward, but he was so athletic and mobile that Lomu moved to the wing while still a teenager. It turned out to be a phenomenal move for the youngster. He played for the New Zealand under-19 and under-21 sides in 1993, before gaining even more attention with a spectacular performance in a sevens tournament in Hong Kong. In that tournament, it became pretty obvious that when you put Jonah Lomu in space, he was pretty much impossible to stop. At just 18 years old, he led New Zealand to their first Hong Kong Sevens title in 5 years, without losing a single game. It led to Lomu being called up to the New Zealand squad, becoming the youngest All Black of all time when he faced France. The 1995 Rugby World Cup was momentous for a number of reasons. South Africa were the hosts of the tournament, having only been reintroduced to international rugby a couple of years prior. Rugby was starting to gain more and more popularity as the sport was on the brink of becoming professional. It was also the tournament where New Zealand decided to bring Lomu into their squad, despite the winger having just 2 caps to his name. He turned out to be New Zealand's secret weapon throughout the tournament, with Lomu starting for the All Blacks from the first game onwards. In his Rugby World Cup debut, Lomu scored twice against Ireland, who had no answer for his physicality and athleticism. He scored in the quarter-final, before putting on one of the best performances in Rugby World Cup history in the semi-final.
New Zealand maintaining possession, wide to Lomu, he's got the bounce.
Against England, Jonah Lomu scored an astonishing 4 tries to essentially take his side to the final single-handedly. The 20-year-old tormented his much more experienced England counterpart Tony Underwood that day. New Zealand had lost to England the last time they faced them, so it was good for the All Blacks that they had a new superstar in Jonah Lomu. The South African side were the only team in that tournament to be able to keep Lomu in check. The 1995 Rugby World Cup final saw Lomu slowed and the All Blacks on the wrong end of the result. While he might not finish the tournament with a winner's medal, Jonah Lomu had done much more for the legacy of the sport. His physically dominating performances came at a time when rugby was trying to reach out to new audiences, with the TV availability of the tournament being more than ever before. If you speak to any professional rugby player from the last 20 years, there's a good chance that Jonah Lomu was their idol growing up. Rugby is a game built on physicality and running over your opponent, which is exactly what Lomu did on the biggest stage. He was the first freak athlete to conquer the sport. England captain Will Carling said at the time how difficult it was to play against Lomu, saying, "He's a freak, and the sooner he goes away the better." You can also credit Jonah Lomu with inspiring a new generation of rugby players. If you were strong and tall, you would usually be put straight into the forwards, but Lomu was an inspiration for those players to succeed on the wings and elsewhere in the backs. If you want to know just how big of a star Jonah Lomu was, he was the first guy getting serious attention from the NFL to switch sports. In early 2000s, Lomu rejected an offer of an unnamed NFL team for a $10 million contract. He even turned down a $1 million deal to switch to Rugby League with Wakefield Trinity in the Super League. Lomu was that big of a star that even people who had no idea about rugby knew who Jonah Lomu was. Lomu continued to be the biggest name in the sport after that tournament, despite the fact he was only just turning 21. He was part of the very first Tri-Nations, with rugby growing the sport as it turned professional. But at the end of 1996, Lomu was given a harrowing diagnosis that would have major effects on his rugby career. He was diagnosed with a rare kidney disorder called nephrotic syndrome. The diagnosis caused him to originally miss some time, before returning to international rugby later in 1997. Lomu had another brilliant tournament at the 1999 Rugby World Cup. Despite being dropped to the bench for the Tri-Nations series prior to the tournament, he scored 8 tries, which was the most at the tournament, as New Zealand eventually lost in shocking fashion to France in the semi-final. It was after this tournament that there was plenty of speculation about Lomu leaving rugby for a big money move to another sport, but instead, he returned to New Zealand, signing a new 4-year deal. Lomu would score the winning try in the match of the century between Australia and New Zealand in 2000. He continued to split his time between the Sevens team and the All Blacks, winning the Sevens World Cup in 2001 with the All Blacks. While he continued to score tries, it was becoming more and more clear that the damaging kidney disease that Lomu had was affecting his ability to play. In fact, New Zealand's Northern Hemisphere tour ended up being the last time that Lomu would play for the All Blacks, despite only being 27 at the time. He needed a kidney transplant, having been placed on dialysis 3 times a week. A year later, Lomu had a kidney transplant, which opened the door for him to return to professional rugby. Lomu retired from the sport in 2007. His kidney disease had a huge impact on his ability to play professional rugby. His illness got so bad that Lomu passed away unexpectedly in 2015, due to a heart attack that was linked to his kidney disease. Tributes flooded in for Lomu after his passing, as his impact on the sport was really highlighted after his passing. There's absolutely no doubt that Jonah Lomu is not only one of the best athletes rugby has ever seen, but one of the best athletes that sport has ever seen. He was by far rugby's biggest draw for almost a decade, lending his name to various video games while inspiring an entire generation of rugby players. A global superstar, rugby union would not be the international game it is today if it were not for Jonah Lomu. What do you think about Jonah Lomu? Put your thoughts in the comments down below. While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. With that all said and done, it's been your boy John Talks Rugby, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to click on screen now to see what's next for the English rugby national team. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.